Coach Peggy Show, all things wellness with Coach Peggy Willms. How many people in your life have told you you're half of this or half of that? Are you settling? No more. This show is about all things, and you deserve it. It's about your money, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. We extinguish excuses and raise the bar to all things possible. It's time to use your ATM, you know, your all things mindset. Welcome to the Coach Peggy Show. Bold, badass, and never half in.
Hey, you guys, welcome. It's Heart Day. I am your host, Peggy Willms, and we talk about all things wellness and well-being, and we get super real here. Real people with real problems, finding real solutions to achieve real results through real stories. Let me just do a little bit of housekeeping real quickly. I have amazing women in the house. First of all, if you ever want to be on the show, hop on to allthingswellness.com and run over to the radio tab. If you have any questions, you can always email me at peggy@allthingswellness.com. And I've worked with almost 400 authors over the last couple of years. So I know what in the heck, I know what's going on out there with storytelling, you guys. So hang tight. This is about you. If you'd like to get your story published in a couple of my books, hang tight to the end of the show. I want to say a couple things before I bring on these amazing women. First of all, it's Valentine's Day. I'm going to ask you sincerely to forget about the commercialism. I'm going to ask you to use the one organ that if we all didn't have it, we would not be talking right now. I'm going to ask you to listen. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth today. I'm going to ask you to offer somebody water or coffee, talk to a homeless person. I want you to smile. I need you to help. I needed you to help spread the love. All right, I start the show off with a quote. It's always pertinent to today's show. It's Children's Storytelling Crusade, and let's go. A child who reads will be an adult who thinks. Sasha Salmina. Bring on my guests, my loves. Bring them on. Hello. Oh my gosh, you look so pretty. All right, I have in the house Donna Gaury. I have in the house Dr. Ann Worth, who just took off her heart glasses. I have publisher Teresa Velardi in here, and Ra Nalbandian. Nalbandian, that's right. So listen, if I sit here and read all of the bios, I'm going to be here for a long, hot minute. So when we talk about their individual books, that's when I'm going to brag about them. Hi, ladies. Happy Valentine's Day. Love to you.
Maggie.
Oh, I love everybody's backdrops. Listen, you're all international, best-selling children's authors, but most of all, you're amazing human beings. And I love chatting with children's authors because it's different, right? When we want to write our own book, it's an adult perspective. We may think the readers are mostly going to be adults, but when we write children's books, most often we're older. There's some kids who write kids' books, which is great, but we're looking back often on an experience that we've had, and we want to tell it through the eyes of our children or grandchildren. So I want to commend you because we're not reading as much to our kiddos today. And I want to commend you for diving into this and taking a chance. It's a very creative space to be in. We get to work with amazing publishers. I just published my first children's book. Teresa in the house, let's start with her. Teresa, the beautiful girl in purple. Teresa Velardi is a publisher, author, potter, Jesus with a keyboard. I don't know what else. But listen, she is also the publisher of everybody in the house. I want to go around the room a little bit uniquely, and I want to ask Donna, what would you like to say to Teresa today?
Teresa, my girl. Happy Valentine's Day, sweetheart. She's amazing. She is amazing. And sometimes I told my family, she's my Italian mama who will get done.
Oh, yes, that's awesome. That's great. Ann, what would you say, Dr. Ann? What would you say to Teresa, your publisher?
Oh, I would say mother, sister, friend, sister in love, sister in Christ in every way. And the patience of Job. I probably no one she's ever worked with has changed their manuscript as many times as I did, but she hung in there.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Ida, what about you? What would you say to the girl?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Peggy, for having me on your show. And Teresa, besides all those wonderful things that everybody just commented, I would add one thing. She provides like a space in the sky where all the stars can shine.
Mm,
Oh,
mm.
yeah.
I mean, stop the madness. It sounds like a Teresa Velardi show. I mean, Teresa, how are you feeling? Because you've been the vessel for us to do this. So what are you feeling?
I'm so overwhelmed right now. I want to cry.
Aw.
It's so beautiful. Thank you, ladies. Thanks for the tissue, Peggy. I appreciate it. Every single one of these women has brought something incredible into my life. The stories are just so beautiful. And the way that we've met is nothing but God. Is nothing but God bringing us together. And so every single one of them has a beautiful story to tell for children. They've poured their hearts and soul into it. And, it's never about me. It's always about what can I do to make each one of you shine as an author, as a storyteller, as a mother, a grandmother, a sister, whatever. It's all about bringing your story to life, and your story too, Peggy. You're on the list of authors too. Look, I have you all.
Wonderful. That's
That's
awesome.
great. That's all. Oh,
So
that's
it's
really
all in my
nice.
heart, every single one of you. And you know what the beauty of this whole thing is I can talk to each one of these women as if they were not just my client, but as if they were my friend, my sister, a heart to heart. So perfect day for us to be together.
It is. And, many of us in the house have worked with other publishers, and I'm bringing all of this up for a point. We've either tried to do our own memoir or even Harlequin romance, whatever we've tried to do. We've written blogs and articles. We've written stories. We've worked with many other people, editors. And even if you haven't written a story, still listen. I want you to do your homework out there, your due diligence. I want you to see who you want to work with. That's my thing for 2024. I'm setting the boundaries. I'm no longer allowing anybody in my space that doesn't align with me. I have a right to do that. And I want you, whether you are publishing a story or a blog or whatever, look at who you want to work with. Look at who's going to allow you to own your content. If their heart is aligned or they're trying to make a quick cash, because I'll tell you, it doesn't matter if you're blogging or writing a story, figure out who you want to work with. So here we go. I know for a fact, and you guys do as well, that reading with children, it increases their knowledge, their vocabulary, their focus, their emotional resilience, their morals, their creativity. Should I go on? And I believe we need to start thinking about how social media is affecting this, right? Because there are ebooks, and that's super important. Our kids are on airplanes and trains and automobiles. That's fantastic to open up a tablet. But we need to remember this, the touch and feel, the sitting on the couch reading to them, the crawling into bed. Dads, I want you to hear me. Uncles, grandparents, teachers, you can make a difference in our kids. Oh my gosh, I need to shut up. All right. Can we really, I'm on a tangent. I haven't even had enough coffee to justify this. Can I start with, please? I want to just start with Dr. Ann Worth. You and I don't know if you remember, I've interviewed you a couple of years ago for a compilation book that you were in. And I want to commend you. I mean, commend is the word today, but you are a Christian counselor, you're a speaker, you're the author of Tessie's Tears book series, which is so cool. And you have stuffed animals. So jealous, so jealous. And you help young children deal with the difficulty of loss. It doesn't matter if it's a loved one, if it's a friend, if it's a pet. And you have dealt with and worked with clients for over 40 years. You beat me, girlfriend. And you're recognizing their personal mission. And I just want to say that your story, not even really related whatsoever to your children's books, is damn amazing in itself. And they need to go get your other book because you have walked and you can walk the talk.
Yeah.
Right, ladies? All right, let's talk about Tessie. So you guys, you can't just go to sleep in the house when I talk to each of you guys, because I'm going to circle right back and you just never know what I'm going to ask you. Sierra, my producer, knows that as well. Dr. Ann, who's Tessie and why is Tessie with us today?
Tessie represents children, any child who has dealt with loss. And she's a little girl, as you can see, with a tear in her eye. She always has a tear just ready to roll down her face. And those of you who know me know that I have a daily cry. So I guess that there's a lot of Tessie in me, or me in her.
Yeah.
But during the pandemic, I was just aware of how overwhelmed the adults were, but the children were hearing about death in a way that none of us had ever had to deal with it. They were separated from their friends, their teachers, their Sunday school class. They were very isolated, and their parents were struggling with their own issues. So how can they be available? So I thought, if I wrote these books about loss, that it would give parents a way not to have to pull on their own strength and wisdom, but they could just sit down and read a book. And I've actually heard from many adults that no one ever talked to them when their grandparent died. We're talking, I live in a senior living place, and so many of us are in our 80s and up. And I can't tell you how many people have said, well, I didn't even get to go to the funeral, or nobody talked about it. We just went on as if it never happened. So
It's going to be one of those shows, Sierra. Hang tight. Oh, that's so true.
This has really given them a way to talk about it, or to be healed and comforted in a way they never were. So
I love Tessie. You guys, Donna, what are your thoughts when you just learned of who Tessie is? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's wonderful, and we've just in the last few months, during the fall, my grandchildren lost their great grandmother, and my granddaughter is 6, so I can relate to what Dr. Ann is talking about, and I was amazed at how well Henley was like this little woman. She didn't break. As a matter of fact, I was very concerned about them going to the wake. But when she returned, I said, well, Henley, how did you do? How, she said so matter-of-factly to me, oh, great grandma, she looked good. She just looks like she was resting.
Right, right.
And I thought, oh my goodness. And she's handling it so well. So then when we got to the funeral, I just kind of watched her, and she was taking it all in. She was watching all of her uncles and her aunts and all of her relatives, and she was just absorbing all of their emotions and what was going on all around her. But I was just absolutely floored.
Isn't that great?
At how well she just, but she got me when she says, oh, great grandma. Oh, and then she says to me, she says, excuse me, she says, oh, she looks so good. She just looks like she's resting. And then all of a sudden, as if she had this epiphany, she said, oh, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, what is she getting ready to say?
Right.
She said, oh my goodness, she gets to see her husband.
Oh, that
She
is
gets
so
to play with her husband. They're playing right now, Gaga.
Oh,
And
that's so good.
oh
Good.
my goodness. And she's thinking this all on her own.
Because
right?
death is part of life. And, I think what I loved about, I just want to jump in for a hot second on my own experience, but I got to go back through the eyes of, right? And you often, when you're writing children's books, you get to talk about subjects that are, we didn't talk about. I mean, death is definitely one of those. What I cover in my book is Tales, Tales, is Tanner's Tales. It's about truth and accountability and love and emotions and safety and support. And what we did as adults, so consider this, who's listening, my son's now 30 and he's a dad of 2. But we are going back to when he was 4 to 7, and we're talking about his experiences. What did he do? Why did he do it? How would he do it differently again? And what I was giving or not giving for support. So, I mean, these are true stories. This is us. And so there's a whole experience that you can have with other people to write, or a whole experience to work through our own crap, right?
Mhm.
I should have done a few different things with Tanner. I can see why he fibbed about breaking his nose and hid in his bedroom. I need to make it safe. So I love this. I mean, Anne, thank you so much for writing those books. That's a subject. And you brought up a delicious point. And that is the fact that sometimes when we storytell, not every adult is super creative in those moments. We're not all adult, the type of mom or dad that could go, there was a blue man wearing a purple cape. But you get to, as a parent who's buying these books, or grandparent that's buying these books, it can touch on subjects that's probably or could be difficult for us to talk about, or things we didn't think about, right? I mean, that's just, I can't. Ida, how are you doing, honey?
Very good. I was watching the jackhammer so it doesn't interfere.
I kind of love the symbolization of a jackhammer. It's starting all over. I want to introduce you, and you're a former university lecturer teaching philology, say that, and linguistics and comparative literature. You're the author of Does God Have a Bicycle? And you're also the founder of VSCF, and I hope I say this right, Von Setien Charitable Foundation, in memory of your late son, whose life was tragically taken from a drunk driver. I about bawled when I read that, when I was learning about you. And you're continuing the foundation's mission, and your book is Jacob's Magic Vegetables. Can we talk about Jacob?
Certainly. So Jacob's story happened during pandemic, when all of us were, the whole world was entrapped in fear of pain and unknown, and not figuring out yet how to navigate around with the unexpected events. Each one was navigating their own way. We in our little town, as everybody else, had long lines in stores and for groceries. So we were thinking, okay, we have to wait 4 to 5 hours in a grocery store line. In local farmers market, they distributed addresses and names of farmers to keep them going so they don't go out of business. And they said, call them and see if they're open. You can just go visit them and buy your produce there. So we did the math. I thought 5 hours waiting in line, 1 hour to drive to the farm. We can't go wrong here, right? And also we're supporting the farmer. Most of all, that was the big intent behind it. It wasn't just like, okay, cutting the line. No, it was, how can I support somebody else when they don't have anybody to buy their groceries?
Mm-hmm.
So I called several of them, and one of them responded. His actual name is Jacob, and I have his permission to use his actual name. And we drove there. Of course, he communicated the expected protocol. He said, you cannot shake my hand, you cannot come near me. Are you willing to? And I said, yeah, of course, I am from this planet too. So we drove there, and he was standing far away. I mean, he knew me from the farmer's market, just to say to his credit. I am a farmer's market shopper. I kind of love supporting local farmers, and I understand how important they are to bring wellness and goodness to our lives and bring produce that nourishes our bodies and souls. So I strongly believe in power of farmers market and power of farmers, that how much they bring for us. So he knew me from the farmers market, and what was known about Jacob's farm is called Roots. Just in case if you see that farm somewhere. Roots, yeah. Anytime, as you know, children, they don't fake their comments. They're known for telling as it is. So anytime we would pass by his farm stand at the farmer's market, they would usually give a carrot or something to children for free when parents were shopping. And said, why does it taste so good? I don't understand. Why does this carrot taste so special? So he has this special way of growing his vegetables that taste amazing. He goes by moon cycles, whatever system he has there, and he knows his job. So I was very thrilled that we're driving to his farm. So we get there and he's standing far away and no shaking hands, we just wave, and he's trapped in tears. He said, I was just watching news and this and that. So long story short, I don't want to ruin the story of the book so people can read it. When that story took place, I had this electric signal up and down my spine. You have to write this. Because okay, I'll share this one part from the book. I took the money out. I said, how do I pay you? He said, nothing, just take it. And I told him I need a couple of boxes because I wanted to support him and also bring in more for others. That was my intent for the drive. He says, nothing. And I said, well, it's not going to really work. I appreciate the kindness, but we're here to support you. He said, yes, okay, you can do so. He noticed how I was like, no, I got to do something. I drove all the way to support you. I'm not going to just take the vegetables and just leave. And he said, okay, you can do one thing for me. You're just going to pay it forward and let this grow. And that was
great. Good job. Boy, COVID stirred up a kind of a, it's really interesting because we're going to go to a commercial break here in a second, but my book was pretty much right after that as well. And I think, for us, we had a different time. I won't say necessarily more time, but we're kind of hunkered down. And I think a lot of us really took a look at what are our priorities? What do we want to do? Many people who do write have always wanted to write, but many people don't consider themselves writers. They don't know what the method should be. They don't know that they don't have to type. They can talk into a device or they can draw their own drawings, and Teresa's Illustrator can bring them to life. And so really, this COVID-ish thinking put us in a hibernation, and we came out. I mean, just look at our backdrops. They're so colorful, people. Like, how could you not come back after commercials? So listen, we're going to hit, I'm going to give a few minutes because I want my authors to think about their favorite children's book. So that's what we're going to have them think about I want you guys to think about it. So you're listening to the Coach Peggy Show, blah, blah, blah. Come on back. I just love that my intro is like, hey, because that's what I'm saying to you. Hey, I just really realized that. That's so funny. We're talking to children's book authors today, and I've got three. Actually, Teresa's written several of her own books. She's written Daily Gift of Gratitude series, Daily Gift of Hope. She's a potter. She does it all. She's everybody in the house. She's our publisher. And Teresa, I want to ask you before we get started with everybody else, what's your favorite children's book?
Oh,
you have to pick one. Don't start with me. Just random.
So, I don't recall what my favorite children's book was when I was a little kid, but I remember when I started reading, there were several series that were out when I was a child, and I'm old. So, I used to read a story called two series, The Boxcar Children and The Apple Dumpling Gang. And I remember them, and there were so many. These children were like so adventurous, and and their lives were nothing like the life of a child is today in 2024. But it was something that was so relatable, and I've been an avid reader all my life. I remember my parents reading to me when I was a little kid, and I've always enjoyed reading. I've always enjoyed writing, and it just is. You were absolutely right when you said reading creates thinkers and creates better vocabulary. Anybody who knows me knows that I am a word nerd. You know,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
And
So that's a two theory.
what I think I've noticed, especially as a grandma, you look at, and I know Donna, you get this, and you guys get this, but you just look at the world differently, and you want it better for them, right? We want so much more, and I know our parents and grandparents did as well. But as a coach for health and wellness coach for almost 35 years now, I can tell you that one subject's the same. It's always been the same, and that's emotional resilience. How are we going to deal with these emotions? What are our love languages? How do we communicate? How do we listen better? It's the same. It doesn't matter if it's civil war. Sit down. I mean, it's right. I mean, come on, man. So I hear you. I hear you. That's the thing, is telling emotions early as we can, as early as possible. All right, Ida, what was one of your favorite children's books growing up?
Well, I love the author, which is your background. I love Dr. Seuss.
There's a point here.
and Lorax, of course.
I love Lorax too. I have a Lorax plant in the backyard. I'll have to send you a picture. I do.
I love that.
I do. Yes. It's such a good message that kind of aligns with your children's book in the sense of, our botanical world out there. Dr. Ann, what about you? What's one of your favorite children's books?
Black Beauty. Black Beauty actually changed my life and made me an advocate for animal rights. And my third book is about a little rescue puppy. So I often foster, and I guess I have always wanted to speak for those who have no voice.
I love that. That's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Good job, Miss Donna.
Well, I come from the age of See, Spot, Run, those kinds of books, but I enjoyed the Giving Tree.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's one of my favorites too. Yes.
What really grabbed me was when our teacher read The Hobbit to us
Oh,
as little people, and so captivated, couldn't wait to get to class to have her read. So I was heartbroken once that book was done, but it was a great
and I
read.
think, but you bring up a good point. So books just allow us sometimes a place to escape, right? Even as adults, we do that. Life is stressful, and we don't feel like we can often just hunker down and be by ourselves. And that's a thing that we really want to teach kids too. I made a couple notes when you guys were talking, and diversity to me is really important in reading. And I feel, I will say an I statement, I end up getting real niche. I end up going down the lane, let's pretend it's health and wellness or whatever it is. And I forget to kind of go wide and learn about different things. And I'm writing a book right now with true stories with those that are homeless or have been homeless. And it changed my life. And it was a subject that naively I didn't know enough about. And so it's forced me to go over here, and it's global. So now I'm like, well, what's going on in Scotland with this? And so what I would say, in regards to children's books, specifically moms, teachers out there, don't just think of your own interest, because it's like broccoli, right? We're coming to you, Donna. If I didn't like broccoli, the odds of me not giving it to my children are pretty high, right? So if we think about children's books, think about different colors, different characters, pets, food, the doctor, and get those in the libraries, at schools and in your children's rooms to open up. Teresa, you're nodding your head. Does that make sense?
Yep, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And the beauty of this whole thing is that every single one of these books has a message. for the children. And that's one of the things that I look at when somebody submits a manuscript to me. Does it have a message? Is it something that children can own for themselves? Is it something that they can bring into their worlds and conversations with their kids, with their friends and whatnot? And they, when I'm sure that each one of these authors has experienced, children sharing the stories that they have written, with them. You have to read this book, and when is the next one coming? Some of these, Anne has a series of 3, Donna has 2 and more coming. I know Ida has some her eye on something else and is working on something. So, the thing is that when we share what we read, the message of the book, Jacob's Magic Vegetables, how loving kindness grows. Anne's books are on loss. Donna's books are awareness, for children of vegetables and agriculture. So there's always something to share. And I have to tell you something about Henley. I got to go to Donna because Donna's going to talk in a minute. I know she's going to talk about it. Henley is a little spitfire. She is the most adorable little thing, and she's the main character in Donna's books. My phone rang one day and I thought it was Donna calling me, and I answered the phone and she goes, "Hello, Miss Teresa. This is Henley. I'm just wondering, how is the book coming along?" I'm like, "Well, nice of you to call, Henley. We're doing just fine." And then I hear Donna, "Who are you talking to?" "Oh, it's Miss Teresa."
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hop over to my producer, Sierra. Are you in the house?
I am here.
You know what your question is, right?
Yeah, my favorite children's book.
She's such a good listener.
I know. I think the one I read the most as a kid, and I feel like I could see myself reading again, is Chicka Chicka Boom Boom, because I love it's kind of a bop as a book. You're just like, boom, chicka boom. I said, yeah, it's just silly. And I like that book.
Oh, no. You bring, right? I love the rhymes. I'm Dr. Susie, right? So I was like the rapper, and, even my the rapper, and we'd be singing around and dancing. And I do have a karaoke machine. I really do. That was kind of, Sierra, what my attraction to Dr. Seuss. So my favorite one is All the Places We Go.
Yeah.
And I love them when they have a message. And my English professor, I went back to college when I was in my early 30s. My English professor, Beverly, who I've written several things about, is the one who gave All the Places You Go to my youngest son that I just wrote a book with. And it was already my favorite book. So now I've bought 2 of them for my 2 grandsons, and I'm not going to give it to them until they're, 18, 20 years old. And I'm keeping them and wrote notes in them. So
oh, that's cute.
Thank you, Sarah. That's awesome. Another thing I want to say before we head to Donna is series. You brought up series, and I'm not talking about SIRI. Book series, you guys. Back in the day, we had the Hardy Boys. We had, Nancy Drew, we had the Box Get, we had all of those series. If you've written a book or you would like to write a book, don't think about the first one has to be all inclusive. Take a journey. And that as a writer is what's so much fun. And with Teresa, we've got a relationship with her, and that's important. You can go back. You can dissect your main story and character and divide it up into things. And children love that, right, Donna? To be able to go back to school with The Hobbit, to know that maybe book 2 is coming out. And then look what Dr. Ann has done with her. You better have your little stuffed animal girl with me, not animal.
This is Molly. And this is one of the twins, Missy and Prissy.
Can't even. You guys, those are characters in her book. And that's another expansion off of this project. And, think about all the little characters and stickers and bookmarks that you can do. And one more thing before we go to Donna, offer you guys as authors, call the schools, call the churches. They love it. My daughter-in-law is a teacher. They love it when you come in and read to the classroom. It's another way to share your story, 30 or 40 children at the same time. And so consider that it's, we're doing this. It's not all for sales, right? A lot of authors, Just saying. Rich and famous isn't in the same sentence anymore when you become an author. It takes a hot minute, right? It's about marketing and working on those things. But if spreading your message is really what's important, I'm going to encourage you to do that. So, Miss Donna Gaury, how are you? Are you having fun, Donna?
Having so much fun. I hate that I'm coughing as much as I am. Still trying to get over this cough, but
Everybody's
I'm
got
having a
some.
wonderful day.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Let me brag about you for a little bit. So Donna Gaury is a children's picture book author, passionate about creating stories to inspire, encourage children to eat vegetables. I'm telling you, we're talking about nutrition today. It seems like it's just amazing. Now, listen, thank you, Donna, for serving our country. She's an Air Force veteran from sunny California, mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. She released her second picture book, which is called Where in the World Does Broccoli Come From? And it's a sequel to her first one. Broccoli is my favorite vegetable. Because she has nothing else to do, she's going back to school to get her master's degree in leadership. The woman apparently is bored. Donna, hello, talk to me. To me about your characters.
I have a sweet little story about this second book. Actually, my daughter-in-law's mom has Parkinson, and she's living with us right now because of some home visits for nurses that come and kind of help with their occupational therapy and so forth. Well, one of the therapists came last night, and when my daughter-in-law came home, she realized that her daughter was in the car. So she walks in and she says, "Is that your daughter in the car?" And she says, "Yeah, she wasn't feeling well at first, and now she's okay." "No, have her come in." So she comes in, and I said, "Okay, how old are you?" And she says, "I'm 9. I says, "I have something I'd like for you to do." I says, "I'm going to give you 2 books to read, and I want you to tell me what you think as a 9-year-old reading the books." But what was so precious about it was she sat down on the couch, and Henley and Kyler came. They kind of came in close, and they were just captivated as this little 9-year-old read through both of the books. And so I said, "Well, what did you think?" She says, "I really like this one." She says, "That one's okay," meaning the first one, "but I really like the second one." And I said, "Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much." And so
The best critics, right? Like Ida said, they're going to tell you the truth. Be careful what you ask
they're
for.
going to tell you yes, yes. So we all signed it, Kyler, Henley, and I. We signed the inside of it and we gave it to her, and she was absolutely elated. But the books just really came about really as a surprise. I've always loved stories. I love listening to people and their story. I love history. When I was a little girl, I used to love reading the encyclopedia, but only the actors, and so I could tell you about any actor, anything you want to know as a kid growing up. And so I'm in school working on my bachelor's. I'm at the end, and we just finished our last 5 weeks of classes in January a couple of years ago. And now you'll have to know that as much as I love stories, my classes were every 5 weeks, and every single week I had to write a paper. And every week they'd have to talk me off the ledge. Oh, man, I just had trouble. But one of the reasons is that everything I wrote sounded like a story. It sounded like a book.
Right.
And so, so to try to reel myself in, well, every week. Okay, so every week they're talking me off the ledge. Well, now I'm done with my last class, and there's about 2 weeks before we have grad night and then commencement. But in those first few weeks before grad night, I woke up one morning and I absolutely could not shut the words off. I was almost feeling crazy because I would look at kids in different scenarios at the library, at the store, and I would be hearing these conversations. All these words were coming like crazy. And I just said, "Oh my goodness." So I said, "Okay, Lord, you're either going to have to help me sit down and write all of these stories, or we're going to have to stop all this, all these
Right.
words coming at me.
Right.
And so that week, those couple of weeks, I sat down and drafted out 6 children's books.
Wow.
Couldn't stop the words, couldn't stop them. So I get to grad night and I tell one of the ladies that was the one that predominantly would be the one that talked me off the ledge. I said, okay, so you wouldn't believe what I've done in the last couple of weeks. And she says, no, what? I said, well, I woke up one day and I couldn't shut the words off and I wrote 6 children's. She was in stitches. I mean, literally, she was in stitches because it's like, you, the one that we were saying, Donna, you can do it, you can do it, you know.
And you took a step towards doing that, you know, and I was wanting to circle back up with Ann because you started writing an adult book. Let's just say you were a writer and you wrote cathartically your own story. You've been changing lives by sharing it. And then it's a very different process, isn't it? It's different on framework and thinking and fluidity. I think for me, part of it was going, calm down, Peggy. You only need 27 pages with a couple lines, and you better get there. Or this is going to be for a 15-year-old, not a 9-year-old. What was the process like for you? Did you come in with the end and then start writing? Or did you start with the framework? What was your thought, the difference?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking the difference. Yeah.
Well, I have the next book in my head, which is about adoption. And first I saw the little girl, the little Korean girl that's going to be adopted. And I knew she was going to live on Tessie Street. And so the neighbors, the elderly couple who are going to take her in for medical care. I mean, it just comes to me in a picture because we have this fabulous illustrator. And I could describe to him what Tessie looked like. And he drew her. I mean, on a Zoom call, I watched her come to life. And so now I can kind of see all these characters through his illustrations. I know what they're going to look like. I know what the house looks like. I know the whole.
I agree.
It just comes.
I agree. I'd like to actually give a shout out to Aljon and Nova Inertia, who are the illustrators for Teresa's books. I remember crying because I mean, I remember Tanner when he was 7, right? I remember, I got photos back there. I remember the story, but when he took, Teresa knows this, when he took it and put this on the screen, it just was like, because it came alive, and it just was like, I felt like somebody really got into me, and just, you know, so the brilliance of finding someone. Don't give up. These stories are your dreams. They are precious. They are your babies. You have every right to tell them your way with your characters. Walk away if a relationship doesn't work with a publisher or an illustrator. It is very important to have that connection. It's a relationship. If you're dreading the call from your publisher or your editor or your illustrator, it's not the right alignment, right? Ida, you agree? I want to give, we're going to be tying up the show just because I'm sad about it, because we're running out of time. And I want you guys, to the listeners and viewers, let's give them a call to action, right? Let's tell them, let's offer something for them to do or think about. So Donna, can I bounce back to you? What are your thoughts on a call to action with some of these peeps?
The call to action is, don't wait. Don't procrastinate. Today is the day. Just start writing. And if you don't know where to start, just start. Just whatever comes to your mind. Just start. Just start writing wherever it is. Because it is like a story that's inside of you. And so whatever you call, just write that. Yeah.
Well, and I've heard that several times. I know Teresa's heard this a lot too, is that many of the characters, and even if it's a children's books too, or if you're talking about a death of a great grandmother or whatever, and you want to write it, many authors want to wait until a character dies, which sounds terrible, but let's pretend we've been traumatized or something yucky happened. We're waiting, Donna, right? We're waiting for this to happen. And you can do it in a very loving way with your own perspective, the I statements to still get it out there. But girlfriend, we might not have tomorrow. Right? We got work to do. And what's a call to action? What are we going to do?
Well, as I've listened to all the benefits
Yeah.
to a child of the words and thinking, but what's really important is the connection between the parent or the grandparent or even an older brother to a younger sibling. It's the connection, because our time is the greatest gift we have to give. So to take the time to read to your child, the benefits it's the most important thing, the connection.
Yeah, I got goosebumps. And when we get goosebumps, all of us, anybody that's listened to that means that she's nailed it. She's touched her heart by saying that. I agree. I don't want to be 80 years old on a swing and that be my time to tell stories. First of all, I ain't going to remember any of them. But
Now, listen, I'm over 80, so
I
still
should
remember.
actually, we are living way longer. So I should say, I don't want to be 100.
Right.
Ida, what is your call to action today?
Deepak Chopra had a beautiful line that was circulating around, and it kind of resonated with me a lot. He says, if not today, when?
Exactly.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
And I kept it as my operating motto. Like when sometimes the Mr. Doubt shows up, or Mr. Oh, it's not perfect shows up, then I go, just hold on, please.
Yeah, that's right. You know, and all writing and reading and speaking is subjective. Political views, sexuality, whatever you want to talk about is subjective. So if you only have one reader over here, it's more important, because I get the devil angel conversation. I work with my clients on that. Like, well, yeah, you've lost weight, but now you look way too good and people are going to be jealous. And then why would you do, right? You've got that, especially as an author. And then what happens? We go public. Social media, it's on Amazon, that whole imposter syndrome kicks in. Yes, just forget about it. Just do it.
Forget about it.
Forget hashtag, forget about it. Right?
Forget about it.
Teresa, what's a call to action that you have for people listening and watching?
I would say, if you have an idea for a story, even if it's just an idea in your brain, sometimes it works. It helps to talk it out with someone. And people say, but I don't write, but I have these ideas. Today, we have so many tools available to us. You can talk your book into your phone, send it to yourself as an email, as an, whatever, and it's there for you. And so what I would say is, if you're looking to get a story told, just go to AuthenticEndeavorsPublishing.com. Look under Book Endeavors, which is the children's book platform. There's a place for you to submit your information and your idea and or your manuscript. And, every one of these ladies will tell you it's a collaborative relationship. Sometimes they're like, well, I'm not sure that I said this the right way. And maybe I would bring something to the conversation that would flip it into something that they can now call their own and relate to it and get the message out there. So, you're never alone when you're writing a story. You always have somebody to help you with, getting your message out there in a way that you can call it your own. And it's a beautiful thing.
Right.
And I'm blessed beyond measure to be able to sit in this chair and help people to get their stories out there, whether it's a children's book or whether it's a short piece for one of these books. Next one is kindness. So that's all out there too. So, just tell
So
your
let's
story.
go around the house, Teresa. Let's tell everybody where they can find you guys, and then we're going to tie this beautiful time up. So Ida, how can people find you? Email, website, where can they?
On the website, wahagamfoundation.org, and Instagram, Wahagam Foundation. I post my daily drops of wisdom to keep people awake and aware.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank you. Donna, where can they find you?
So Facebook, Donna M. Gaury, author. Also can be emailed at dgary@homelifebooks.com.
Beautiful, Dr. Ann.
I think I will say email Dr. Ann with an E Worth. No, my email is, hold on, annworthdr@att.net. And I'm saying email because I would love to donate books to churches or schools. And so send me an email, and my website is drannworthauthor.com.
Okay. We're going to tie it up. And okay, Teresa, AuthenticEndeavors.com.
AuthenticEndeavorsPublishing.com.
Publishing.com. All right, you guys, I hope you've had a super great time. You can hop on my website at allthingswellness.com, run over to the author tab. I'm writing a book on homelessness, unsheltered, and a wellness GPS, a compilation book. I've loved being with you guys. Sierra, take us away. We'll see you in 2 weeks, you guys.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Coach Peggy Show, All Things Wellness with Coach Peggy Willms. Tune in live on TransformationTalkRadio.com, where Coach Peggy talks all things wellness, not just nutrition and fitness, but about all things, about your money, your lifestyle, your beliefs, and even romance. The Coach Peggy Show, bold, badass, and never half in. For more information or to connect with Coach Peggy, visit allthingswellness.com.